everyone. Welcome to the Thriving Thursday workshop. And I feel like we don't need to give Dave an introduction since he's been on it so many times. You should all know him by now. So this week, Dave is going to be taking us through Legalese and how we can empower ourselves with the language of Legalese. Dave, do you want to take it away and give us a background and get into it?
Okay, it's Legalese is a kind of very limiting part of this, yeah, because I'm really going to be talking about the whole thing, really, what common law is and how it works and how it works against us. I'm if you don't know who I am, I'm Dave, known as Allegedly Dave. I've literally been researching things since 9/11, and one of the topics I got into not long after looking at 9/11 was how the law works, and I became a free man on the land at one point. So yeah, so I'll just start with a question, really. What is common law? So common law is essentially natural law that is natural law that's written down. It's natural law because we all understand what law is. You know, we all have it written on our hearts. You know, we know what's right and what's wrong. Yeah. Now I've been challenged on that idea by certain people that there is no such thing as absolute right and wrong. But I usually give an example that if you're at a dinner table and the person next to you gets up and you notice that they've left their wallet on the seat, right? You've got two choices. You can either take that wallet and you know, put it in your pocket and see how much you've got out of it, or you can run after the person and say, I've got your wallet. Yeah. Now, if you were to take that wallet home, you'd be reaching down for that wallet very surreptitiously, looking around to make sure nobody sees you. Yeah. And then when you finally got it home, you'd probably go through, take the money out, and then notice that, oh look, there's a picture of the person's mum. It's probably his only picture of his mum, and there's all these cards and there's all this stuff that, you know, he's going to have a really hard time to do without. Yeah, and you're going to feel, if you're not a psychopath, you're going to have a pang of guilt, you know, right there, hoping that you could somehow give that wallet back to him without having to give the money back, right? But if you were to pick up that wallet with the intent of running after the person and giving it to him, you wouldn't care if somebody sees you. Yeah, you'd pick it up and, oh, look, guy's left his wallet, and you'd run after them. And when you gave it back to them, you'd have a feeling, a really good feeling that you've done something good. Yeah, the person's really, you know, grateful that you've done it, and you get a good feeling. We all know when we do right and when we do wrong. Yeah, there is no there's none of this. What's the word? Whereas levels of morality, no, we know right from wrong, right? And literally. Common law or natural law is based on the 10 commandments. Yeah, the 10 commandments are essentially rules for a harmonious society. Yeah, if this world ran according to the 10 commandments, we would have a harmonious world. We really would. So it basically comes down to: don't cause or threaten harm, injury, or loss to people or their property. And you know, further goes a little further and saying, do all that you say you'll do. So don't defraud anyone. Yeah, so don't lie and don't defraud anyone. So that's it. No harm, injury, or loss to people or their property. Don't threaten the same, and do all that you say you'll do. Yeah. So when you violate that, when you break common law, that's what we call a crime. Yeah. Crimes always have an injured party. There's somebody who's going to be injured or aggrieved, right? They always have an injured party, right? So when you get somebody who has some kind of injury or grievance, that's when we go to court. Okay. Now, just like everything in this system, right? We've got something that's real and something that's fake. Yeah, we've got the original that's real, and it's been overlaid by something that's fake. Now, courts are a good example, right? Or let me step back a second. Where we have law, which I've just explained is this natural law, we have this thing that's essentially overlaid it and almost replaced it, called the legal system. Okay, it sounds like, you know, if you spoke to somebody on the street, they would assume the two things are the same, but they're not. Right? The law is the law that we all know, and we have the legal system, which kind of seems like law. Yeah, I should have a flip chart with you know, two sides here, you know, good, truth, you know, and right versus, you know, bad, false, lies. Yeah. So on the good side, you've got law. On the bad side, you've got the legal system. And the same thing goes with courts. Yeah, you have the real court, which is called a court de jure, which means the word de jure means legitimate, lawful, right? And in that case, you have a okay. How that works is you have a complainant or an injured party, the person who's suffered the loss, harm, or injury. You have a defendant, somebody who's going to defend that. You have witnesses who have first-hand knowledge of what's, you know, what happened. And that, again, that comes from the Bible. Deuteronomy 19:15 says that 2 or 3 witnesses, you know, out of their mouths should a matter be established. So you always have to have actual witnesses. Then you have a jury, 12 ordinary people who are going to actually decide what's, you know, who's right and who's wrong. Not a judge, right? You have a judge in this real court, but a judge is only a referee. He just keeps the thing, you know, ticking over and not descending into arguments and stuff. He's just a referee, right? The thing about this court is that everyone speaks plain English, so everybody can understand what's going on. Okay, common law is determined in courts, right, from decisions from these types of court cases. Because when if a jury comes along and decides that the actual rule that's been broken is, you know, the actual law is a bad law, right, then the jury can actually say, you know what, we're going to strike that law. You know, 12 ordinary people can actually overturn, you know, government legislation. That's why we don't have juries anymore. It's called jury nullification, right? But the point is that we've been tricked by deceptive language. Yeah. So as I said, 2 columns: good, right, and bad, wrong. Yeah. So what we've got instead of normal courts, the normal de jure courts, is a de facto court, which is essentially, you know, it's there because it's there. It's nothing right about it. It's just there, right? And in one of these de facto courts, right, you have the defendant, yeah, normally us, and the prosecutor, which is the crown. They're the 2 sides in this battle, right? But you know, as a defendant, you don't actually get to speak, right? You have a defense lawyer. Your defense lawyer is a crown employee. Okay, so the whole court is operated by the crown. You know, even if you're in America, you've got the version of the crown, because you know, all the lawyers and the judges are they have to pass the bar exam. Well, that goes all the way back to London in this country. You know, the Bar Association. So it's still the crown. So your lawyer is a Crown employee. The prosecutor, prosecuting lawyer, is a Crown employee. The judge is a Crown employee. The clerk of the court is a Crown employee. Everyone belongs to the Crown and is working for the Crown except for you, right? So that's why you rarely win in one of these courts. And the difference between a real court and one of these courts is that everyone speaks legalese. Well, legalese is a completely whole language, completely different from any other language. It might look like English, it might sound like English, but it is a completely different language because all the words have been redefined to mean something else, right? So, so essentially, that's the difference between one of the big differences between the legal and lawful. As I said, lawful is according to the law that we have written on our hearts. Legal, on the other hand, is whatever a politician tells us. Yeah. So whatever legislation is put in place, that is legal. It's not lawful. Okay. As I said, laws are easy to understand, right? We all understand them. Legal requires lawyers, that understand the legal system, because we don't. We can't. We don't have the skills, in this art of language to understand the legal system. Yeah. So the legal system requires lawyers. Yeah. As I said, there are very few actual laws. Yeah. Again, we know them off by heart, right? But in this country, in particular, there's over 70,000 statutes, acts of parliament that, according to maxim in law, ignorance is not a defense. So you are technically, you're supposed to know every single one of these over 70,000 acts of parliament so that you don't break them. Yeah, the point is you can't know all those, and essentially you're breaking one or two of these things every time you step out your front door. Yeah. But the point about these acts of parliament is this government legislation. It's not actually law. It's a rule of a corporation that has the force of law if you consent to it, and only if you consent to it, or if you're a government employee. Okay. So what is a statute and act? They're supposed to be guidelines of reasonable behavior. Yeah. So imagine a speed limit. Okay. So if you're living in a residential area, we can probably all agree that 70 miles an hour, somebody going 70 miles an hour in a residential area where there may be a school at the end of the road, or, and just houses and people living in them, 70 miles an hour through that sort of street is not a good idea. Yeah, we can probably all agree with that. Somebody just asked, what about retired government employees? I'm actually coming to the government employees, but it's not what you think, and I'll get to that in a minute. So as I said, we can probably agree that 70 miles an hour for a residential area is a bad thing, right? So if we all sat around and talked about it, we could probably agree that looking at this residential area, maybe 25 miles an hour is a reasonable speed to go. If we all agreed on that, well, then that now becomes law. It becomes law for you because you've agreed to it. So if you've agreed to 25 miles an hour down this particular street, and you start going 50 miles an hour and you have an accident, well, that becomes law for you. You've literally agreed to it being safe at 25. Now you've broken it because you've previously agreed to it. I hope that makes sense. So we had that question about the government employee, right? Well, most people, well, I think everybody is a government employee, whether they know it or not, right? You actually have evidence of being a government employee. We'll get to that in a second. But the reason why government employees are bound by these statutes is the same reason why in Tesco's or Walmart, yeah, let's go. Tesco's or Walmart, yeah, there's a rule in Tesco's, and I think it's the same in Walmart as well, that if you work on the till, on the checkout desk, you're not allowed to bring money into work. You're not allowed to bring money, your own money, into the store. Okay. The reason for that is if you're working on a till and you've got money in your pocket, you know, they can't tell if you've stolen that money or not. So they bypass that by saying, right, if you work on a till, you can't bring money into the store. Now, if you don't work for Tesco's, that rule doesn't apply to you. You can walk into Tesco's with as much money as you like, right? It only applies to employees of Tesco's or Walmart, okay? So you are, everybody is a government employee. The evidence of that is that you have a birth certificate, right? That sets you as an employee or citizen of the government. Now, the truth of the matter is, you are a sovereign being, okay? You are one step below the creator, whoever you believe that to be, okay? You're up here, so the creator is one step above you, right? Nothing in between you and the creator, right? So we collectively, we created government, okay? Government works for us. Government is under us because, you know, a created thing is below the creator, okay? So government is below us. Government works for us, okay? The government creates all sorts of fictional entities, such as citizen, driver, taxpayer, resident, occupier, householder, whatever. Yeah, all these fictional entities, they don't really exist. They're just, you know, fictional creations of the government. But because the government create them, now they come under government. They are below government, okay? So a birth certificate is evidence that you are one of these fictional entities, a citizen, yeah, or essentially a government employee, because your birth was registered by your parents who had no idea what they're doing, you know, they were doing when you were born. Yeah, just like most things in this world, you know, we're not educated in what's really going on. So what we tend to do is look around and see what everyone else is doing, and we do that. Yeah. So your parents, you know, thought, well, I guess we're supposed to register this child, but they didn't know that the word register is actually legalese, that means to hand over title ownership to whoever you are registering with. Yeah. So when you register your child, you're literally handing ownership of that child to the state. Yeah. You know, when you do that as you know, a father or a mother of a child, right? When you hand over your child to the state, you become the pair that rents that child. Yeah. That's, you know, I don't think that's a coincidence that the word we use, you know, sounds like the pair that rents, right? So you have no rights over that child because you've signed them away to sign their bodies away to their to the state. On a side note, if you baptize your child, you actually sign over that child's soul to the church. So, you know, the state and the church are the same thing, essentially. State and the church owns your child, body and soul. Yeah. So think about what else you register. You register your car. Okay. Now, I can't remember what it is in America, but I can only say what's still here. When you register your car, you can look on your logbook. It actually calls you the keeper, not the owner. It's telling you that you've handed over your car to the state. Yeah. And you just become the keeper. You're keeping it for the state, you know, just like the parents are renting those children from the state. Yeah. Prior to birth certificates, all births would be recorded in a family Bible. I actually saw a family Bible at the weekend, and it's a beautiful old Bible, and in the middle, all these pages which had literally the history of this family written down in the middle of this book. But that's what happened, you know, prior to the idea of birth certificates coming in. So where the origin of all this was actually coincidentally in the year 1666. Yeah, so in that year, the world was kind of reeling from, and I believe it was a false flag event anyway, the Great Plague, and simultaneously the Great Fire of London. And while the London was in flames, right, Parliament sat and they enacted this law called the Statute Acts, which was enacted in French so that people couldn't figure out what was going on in it. So in this act, they declared, because of these simultaneous disasters, they declared that everyone was dead. And so the government would administrate everyone's share of the country. They became the shareholder, the sole shareholder of the country. Yeah. And in the act, it says that by the age of 7, people had to present themselves before the age of 7 in order to claim their share of the country. But they didn't actually put in the act how you go about doing that. So nobody could do it, and nobody knew they had to. So, as I said, the this birth certificate that they create actually creates something called a person, right? That's more legalese. You might think you're a person, but you're not. A person is a dead entity, yeah, a corporation. That's why we got the word corpse. Yeah, it's a dead body. Yeah, so they create this corporation in your name, but it's not actually your name because it's in all capital letters, which is an incorrect spelling. Yeah, so you look at that name in all capital letters and you assume that it refers to you. But again, we haven't been taught proper grammar, and anything in all capitals isn't you. If it's not in all capitals, yeah, you'll have a title that goes with the name. Yeah, a Mr. Well, if you actually look up the word Mr. or mystery, you find the word mystery, that's M-I-S-T-E-R-Y. Yeah, the word mystery means a trade or business or corporation. Yeah, so essentially it's again telling you, that title is telling you that you are a corporation if you accept that title. Yeah, as a boy, yeah, before the age of 7, you had a different title. That would be master. Yeah, I remember the only name I remember that being used is, oh, Master Bruce Wayne. You know, a little boy would be referred to as master. So as a master, yeah, that 7-year-old or prior to 7-year-old couldn't ever be arrested, couldn't be jailed, couldn't be fined, it couldn't be touched because it was a master. In this system, women aren't really regarded. Yeah, so before marriage, their title is Miss, as in ignore, you know, miss out. And after marriage, they become Mrs. MRS. But it's not actually MRS. That again is spelled wrong. It's MRS. apostrophe S, as in Misters, as in belonging to Mr. or property of the business. Yeah, as I said, mystery is a business. So Mrs. is, you know, Misters, property of the business, right? So it's all very tricky. So because governments cannot deal, or corporations and governments, because government is a corporation, government and corporations can't deal with flesh and blood human beings, or flesh and blood men and women. Shouldn't use human beings, because as I said, we are above government. Yeah, so they can't tell us what to do, but governments can regulate business, trade, commerce. Yeah, so essentially, you know, they try and make us admit to being in trade, business, or commerce. Yeah, so for instance, when you register your marriage, again, you're registering it with the government. Okay, it becomes like a corporate merger. Yeah, that the state now owns because you've registered it, and it has a stake in the products that you produce. You know, in other words, children. And as a silent partner in this marriage, right, that's why they insist that you register or hand over your children. Yeah. So the legal system, as I said, is all about you agreeing with it, right? It's contract law at the end of the day. Yeah, it's all about agreements, right? And the reason for that is, let's say if I was to punch you in the face, right? If I was to just bash you in the face, that's a crime. That's assault. Yeah. But if I was to ask you, is it okay if I punch you in the face? And you say, yeah, that's all right, and I punch you in the face, is it a crime? Well, no, because you've agreed to it beforehand, and no, it's not a crime. Yeah. So again, what they tend to use is word magic. Okay, so let's say I could sit you down and say, do you like? Have you ever heard of massage? You know, yeah, okay, yeah, I've heard of it. Oh, have you ever had it? Yeah, I quite enjoy it. Okay, so so you know, it's all about sort of you know, pressing the hands on the flesh, and maybe sometimes, you know, sort of doing karate chops, and maybe getting your knuckles in there, and sort of, you know, getting rid of these tightness and knots and stuff. Yeah, it's really good. Okay, so so would you like this free offer of a massage? Yeah, that sounds good. So we can give you this free massage whenever we see you know, tightness on your body. Yeah, that sounds good. Bang. Okay. Right. Well, you know, it's a silly example, but you know, I've just given you a kind of a story that basically got you to agree to this idea of of massage, which is my idea of massage, maybe not yours, but I've just literally tricked you into agreeing with me punching you in the face. This is how the legal system basically works. Yeah, it's all about word magic. Yeah. So as I said, they created a whole nother language that looks and sounds like English. Okay, but it's not. Yeah, when you engage in a legal type discussion with anyone, like a policeman, or in a court with a lawyer, yeah, or even with a corporation, right? The conversation is being conducted in legalese, even though you might think it's in English. Okay, so just to give you a few of these words that they've redefined, I've already spoken about register, which means to hand over title ownership of what you're registering with whoever you're registering it with. Okay, so you literally just sign over whatever it is. The word, mention the word person. That means, doesn't mean man or woman. It actually means a corporation. Another word that you're familiar with is the word must, right? So we think it means there's an obligation to do something. Well, in the legal world, must is synonymous with the word may. You may do something. Yeah, so that gives a completely different spin on things, isn't it? You know, one that most people have come across before. It's called understand. Now, we, naturally assume that the word understand means to comprehend. But in the, again, the legal world, to understand something means to stand under, to accept, to be bound by, to consent to. Yeah. So, if a policeman, stops you for something, and he'll sort of maybe list a charge or two, and then he will always say, do you understand? Now, again, most people assume he's saying, do you comprehend the words that are coming out of my mouth? No, he's not saying that. He's saying, do you accept, do you consent to these charges? And you essentially, you confess and you say, yes, I do consent. All right, he's got you. That's, again, it's all about trickery. Another trick is the word identify. Okay, the word identify means to make the same as. Okay, so again, when a policeman asks you to identify yourself, okay, he might do that in the form of a driving license. Let me see your driving license. Well, you've made yourself the same as a driver, yeah, which is under government, which then comes with all sorts of rules and regulations. Yeah, if a policeman asks you for your name, date of birth, and address, that identifies you, makes you the same as a citizen, yeah, and a government employee. Okay, so yeah, another couple of words. Submit basically means to bend to somebody's will. It doesn't mean to send something. It means to bend to somebody's will. Right? And the word application means to beg. Yeah. So when you submit an application for registration for something, you are bending to the will of somebody else or accepting their authority and begging them to take ownership of something. Yeah, which assumes you are fully aware of what you're begging for. Yeah. Again, it's a tricky language that you're not even aware that you're speaking. Yeah. As I said, the legal system is all about you agreeing with it and accepting their word magic. So there are 4 ways in which you can be you can agree. Okay. So the first one is, well, let's go through them. It's a written contract, a verbal contract, consent assumed by your actions, yeah, and tacit consent. Right, so let's look at the first one, a written contract, okay? So most contracts that you'll come across, in your life are actually going to be hidden contracts. A good example is a driving license. Now, most of us think a driving license is some kind of certificate of competency, yeah. But you take your test, you pass your test. Oh, somebody says they can't hear anything. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. I just assume it's a local problem then. Yeah, so yeah, we think a driving license is a certificate of competency. You take your test, somebody is marking you and they've marked you down as competent to drive a car, right? So that's what we think. But normally when there's you get issued a certificate, normally the person that signs it is the person that's testing you to say, yes, they've been tested and found competent, right? No, nobody signs your driving license apart from you. That driving license is actually a contract. Yeah, it's a contract where you sign away your natural right to travel for the benefit privilege of being something called a driver, which again is under government. Your natural right to travel is inherent in you because you are one step below the creator. But you sign this contract and you waive that natural right, and now you become something called a driver, right? So so yeah, most of these contracts are hidden, right? Your signature on a contract is very powerful. Yeah, it's called the manifestation of intent. Yeah, it's got an unlimited value to it. You know, you can go into a bank, probably not these days, but you can go into a bank and walk out with £10,000 or $10,000, right? And all they'll take from you is a signature. That's the power of your signature, because that signature forms your promise, whether it's a promise to pay or promise to act in some way, right? So bearing that in mind, that your signature is very powerful, always read a contract before signing it. Yeah. Sometimes a contract is very difficult to read because there are other tricks that go on on a contract. Something called the four corners rule, right? So the four corners rule is essentially, if you're looking at a document and there's something in a box on that document, it means that everything in that box is not part of the document. It's removed from that document. So if you see boxes on this document you're reading, this contract you're reading, right, you can literally exclude what's in that box, right? So you can tell that might significantly change what's going on in on that contract, right? So so one of the things you can do is, okay, you can cross out anything on that contract you don't like. Yeah.
We lost them.
Yeah, we lost him.
This does tend to happen with him sometimes.
Well, I'll pick up where we left off.
Go on then.
Nice to meet you, Alchemist.
Nice to meet you too. Moira Deneen, where are you, Moira?
Ireland.
Ireland, nice.
Nice scenery you have.
Thank you. This is my back porch. My
Nice.
This is my cousin too.
Hey guys.
Nice to meet you.
Hi.
Thank you. Alex, this is JJ.
Hi, JJ.
Hi, JJ.
Nice to meet you. I'm just
I
like,
guess we'll just wait for him to come back on.
Yeah, that would be more appropriate.
I had a really good question. I wanted to know, because like the more I'm listening to him, the more I'm realizing like my ship is sunk. Like I got a birth certificate. I dedicated my kids.
No. Your ship is not sunk. You need to wait for him to get to the solution section.
Yeah, I need to hear this.
Yeah, same here. Even though I was getting bored of all the bullshit, so I was playing Bayonetta 2. while waiting for him to get to the solution part. I know what you mean. Like, yeah, my parents signed my name away, birth certificate and all.
Yeah, I also wanted to know, how does, like, my church didn't get, like, we didn't sign, like they were baptized as children, but there was no.
Oh, I think he's back.
You're back.
Oh, sorry about that. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, you must have cut off.
Oh, good
Or
grief.
the elite are onto you.
Literally, this always happens when you do one of these workshops, Dave. It's just too much knowledge for them. They don't like you spreading it.
Oh, okay.
Nice to meet you, Dave.
Sorry?
You, please.
I didn't hear
Nice
what
to
you
meet
said.
you. Nice to meet you.
Oh, well, I've got a picture of something down there.
Yeah, I know. I don't have a camera.
Oh, okay.
I'd rather not.
All right. Okay, so I think I was at
Well, the last thing I wrote down was four corners rule.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So so yeah, when you're faced with a contract, okay, most people expect you to just sign that contract right in front of you, right in front of them. I don't, right? You've got to read that contract. So I'll give you an example. When I came back to England, I wanted to open a bank account. So they handed me an application, begging, yeah, an application to open this bank account, and they said, yeah, just sign it and we'll open your account. I said, you know what, I'm just going to take this home and I'll come back in the morning. So I took it home and I read through that contract, and there were a few things I didn't like about it, you know, particularly I think it was if your balance dips below 0, right, then they're going to charge me £30 or something. So I literally crossed that out and I initialed it. Yeah. I think I crossed a couple of things out. And one of the things I could have done, which I should have, but I didn't, is that I was going to write in, you know, something I did like, right? I did want in our contract. And you know, I should have said, you know, if you try and charge me for, you know, for a balance below 0, yeah, I charge £50. I could have put that in there. Yeah. The thing is about a contract is it's a two-way street. Yeah, it's an agreement between two parties. So both of you have equal power to put things in and take things out of a contract until it's signed. So you both agree on what's going on, and then you sign. Now, once I did that and I went in the next morning, just as they expected me to sign the thing without looking at it, they accepted the contract without looking at it. So a few, like 6 months later, my account balance dipped below 0 for about a microsecond, and they wanted to charge me £30. And I said, well, I'm not paying that. And they said, well, you have to, it's in our contract. I said, no, it's not. And they said, yes, it is. I said, go and have a look. And a few weeks later, or well, maybe a week later, they wrote to me and said, yeah, we're not going to charge you for that £30. Yeah. So yeah, that's the power that you have when you're dealing with a contract. Yeah, you can cross out what you don't like and write in what you do want in the contract. In an ideal world, not an ideal world, in the world, what's supposed to happen is, yeah, you send that contract back, they have a look for it and say, well, we don't agree with that, and then they send it back to you, and you and so on and so on. It's a negotiation. But as I said, in this world, both parties expect the other to look at it and not actually read it and just sign it. Okay. So as I said, an agreement becomes law to you, right? And it comes under do all you say that you'll do. But the thing is, a contract requires 4 things to be valid. And I use the acronym FLEM. Okay. So so the first one is full disclosure. Now, rarely do you get full disclosure. An example again is a driving license. When you look at that driving license, again in England, I don't know again in America, but in England, when you look at that driving license, it says, oh, it used to say actually, because we used to have a big paper one, it used to say for the laws and the terms and conditions, you have to look in the Road Traffic Act, right? Which means the terms and conditions for that contract is not on that document. It's somewhere else. So it's not full disclosure. So it fails there. Lawful terms and conditions, right, need to be in this contract. So, you know, again, driving license, well, the terms and conditions are not lawful. It's not lawful to abridge somebody's rights. What's the word? It's not abridge. To restrict somebody's rights, take away somebody's rights. So it fails there. It's not lawful terms and conditions. Again, the next one, E, equal consideration. So it means for a contract to be valid, both parties have to come to the table with something of equal value. Well, a benefit privilege of being a driver is not equal to the unlimited, you know, right to travel. So it fails there. The last one is manifestation of intent. Again, that's the signature. I mentioned that before. It's the signature. So you sign it, but you don't get a signature from anybody else. So literally, both signatures have to be on a contract for both parties. There isn't a signature from the DVLA or I can't remember what it is in America, but so you literally don't get this manifestation of intent. So literally the driving license fails, and on all counts, it's not an enforceable contract. Yeah. So that's written contracts. A verbal contract is often entered into by you answering questions, just like me saying, would you like me to punch you in the face? If you say yeah, you answer the question yeah, well then you're in a verbal contract, and I can punch you in the face now, right? So usually offers are made to you, and it's a yes or no answer whether you accept or not. I've given you an example of do you understand as a way of entering into a verbal contract, most of the time without you knowing about it. So the way to get around that is not to answer questions. Yeah, when you're in a kind of legal type situation, yeah, don't answer questions. Or if you're going to answer them, answer a question with a question. We'll get into that a little later on, but asking a question is very powerful. Essentially, it goes back to you being a sovereign being, because sovereigns, kings and queens, don't answer questions, they ask them. And you can remember that by looking at the word. Asking is as king. Yeah. So kings ask questions, slaves answer them. Yeah. So when you're faced with a verbal contract, just like if you're talking to a policeman, right, don't answer questions, ask them. Okay. As I said, one of the other ways that you can enter into contract is a contract can be assumed by your actions. Okay, so if let's go back to answering questions again. If a stranger comes up to you and goes, "What's your name?" Right. Well, if you answer that stranger, or the stranger comes up to you and says, "Where do you live?" Right. If you answer that stranger asking you or demanding an answer from you, then by your actions, you've admitted that they've got some kind of authority over you to demand answers from you. Yeah. And that's enough of an implication to derive authority over you. So it doesn't matter if that stranger is wearing a uniform with a badge and a fancy hat. Yeah. It's still a stranger trying to get authority over you. Yeah. Now, one of the other things is about a contract being assumed by your actions is if a policeman gives you an order. So the policeman looks at you and says, "Stand over there," and you go and stand over there. Well, you've admitted that the policeman has authority to make you stand over there. It's as simple as that. As soon as you follow an order that given to you by a policeman, for instance, then you've given that policeman authority over you. And if you, just as the saying goes, you give somebody an inch, they'll take a mile. Right? Once they've got authority over you, you're almost kind of screwed, right? So don't follow orders from police. Yeah. You can respond with, "Am I obliged to go over there?" Yeah. Or and a good favorite of mine is this a request or an order? Okay. So depending on how he answers, if it's a request, then you can politely decline a request. Okay. But if it's an order, well, orders are chargeable. Yeah. Just like an order in McDonald's. Yeah. if you order a Big Mac, well, you have to you literally have to pay for that. So one of my earliest videos is me when I deregistered my car, and I was driving around for about a year or so, and I finally got stopped, and the one of the policemen ordered me to get out of the car. And I said, well, you know what, I don't work for free. If you want me to get out of the car, it's going to cost you £20,000. So this copper actually said, yeah, I said to him, do you still want me to process your order? And he said, yes. I said, okay, hold on a second. And I got this invoice book out, and I wrote him an invoice and he signed it on camera, which is cool, because now he entered into a contract with me. And that's it. Yeah, I could, if I wanted to, I could sort of follow him up for the 20 grand, but you know, it's going to be so much hassle. But anyway, that's the point. An order is chargeable, and you can make up whatever charge you like. Yeah. So yes, that's basically how you deal with the contract assumed by your actions, sort of implied, an implied contract. The last way is a tacit agreement, or tacit acquiescence, as it's called. And again, it's usually to do with offers that that are made to you. So yeah, offers come in all sorts of shapes and forms that you don't actually realize, you don't sort of recognize them as offers. So if a demand comes to you to do something, a demand for money or demand that you show up somewhere, it's an offer. Do you want to, you know? And the thing about a tacit consent is silence. If you do not respond to that offer, then your silence can be taken as consent. Yeah, the offer really should be prefaced with, unless you have any objections, we're going to do this and that and the other. Right? It really should have, unless you have any objections, because the offer is basically waiting for you to object to it. Now, the government do this, you know, make these offers all the time, and you'll recognize them because, you know, let's go to this coronavirus rubbish. What they will say is, oh, from, you know, let's imagine today is the 15th of the month. They'll say, oh, from the 24th, anyone going on public transport must wear a mask. So they always have a lead time for this thing. So they'll say, you know, a week ahead, we're going to do this in a week's time. That waiting period, that period between when they make the announcement and when this thing goes into force, is actually your opportunity to object. Yeah, you'll see it in court as well. A judge will make a proclamation, you know, and he will pause, whether he will cover it up with shuffling papers or looking for something or looking for somebody in the court. There'll be a pause. That pause is waiting for you to object, right? And your silence will be taken as consent. So if you don't object, right, they will literally say, righto, we'll do that then. I've got a little question. I saw a question and it's gone. So
yeah, he's just saying that first of all, he's in Europe and he's not in the US or the UK, but also you know, with he's saying the silence can also be taken as not consent, and the fact that police are very corrupt, right? So they can force and abuse and bully us into either doing something or threatening or scaring us into doing something, or they can just simply be very aggressive and abusive. How do you deal with that kind of
right?
with
Well,
that aggression?
first of all, in Europe, they're under a different style of law. They're under Napoleonic law, whereas in the UK and the Commonwealth countries and that, they're under you know, innocent until proven guilty. In Napoleonic law, you're guilty until proven innocent. Totally different way of approaching it. Right, so the way you protect yourself, if you can film it, excellent, right? The point is, if you stay calm, and if you know the law, if you know all of this, yeah, and I'm gonna go into how to deal with this, you know, in a few minutes. But if you know how to deal with this, then they can't initiate violence. Yeah. Actually, I am going to. Am I going to do that right now? No, I'll do this later. I've got a video to show you of what happened just recently. But yes, they can initiate violence if you let them. Okay. Yes, you've got corrupt cops, and sometimes they'll just go off the reservation and they'll just do whatever the hell they like. But if they've got, you know, even 2 brain cells to rub together, they're going to try and stay within the law and within their remit. Okay. And if you hold them to their remit, well, they start to realize that they can be held liable for what they do. And that's where you go with it. But again, normally these cops, they respond in kind. So if you are aggressive with them, they will get aggressive. Yeah. If you don't cooperate with them, yes, they'll start getting aggressive. They might get sort of louder and that. But if you've got, you know, valid points to put to them, yeah, that literally hold them to their oaths and things, then they tend to step back. Okay, but I'll get into that in a second though. The point about this, when you're dealing with the legal system or its agents, is that you have to remain in honor. Okay, and this is where the game is, because remaining in honor, right, actually sort of constrains you so much so that you end up having to agree with them, and then, you know, the default means that you end up into their system, and you know, you end up paying for something, whatever. So in order to remain in honor, right, obviously you don't want to agree with them. You can't lie, okay, because again, that's a crime actually. So you can't lie. You mustn't answer questions. You mustn't argue. Yeah, if you argue, now there's a controversy between the 2 of you. Yeah, and that controversies get settled in court. So you're going to end up in court because you argued, right? And you mustn't remain silent. Now, there is one caveat to that last one, remaining silent. Sorry, we can't lie, yet everything's a paradox. Well, again, the rules are for us. Yeah, the rules are for us. Yeah, we're the government employees. We're the slaves. Yeah, so the rules are for us. Yeah, so there is one caveat about remaining silent. Yeah, if you're dealing with the police, okay, you can remain silent, right? Police do not have jurisdiction over civil matters. If you commit a crime, yeah, the police will just grab you and chuck you in jail or whatever. Yeah, because you've committed a crime. There doesn't have to be any investigation as such. Because, you know, if they see you commit a crime, you've committed a crime. That's it. But over civil matters, all they can really do is report you for a civil violation. Report you to the whatever authority you know, is administering this civil violation, right? In order to process you, to report you, they need a name, a date of birth, and address to identify you, to make you the same as one of their slaves. Yeah, so they will threaten you. You know, if you don't give them your date of birth and your address and your name and that, they will threaten to arrest you in order to bully you into giving your name and address and all that. Yeah, the point is, you don't have to say anything, right? You'll see later there was a court case called Rice versus Connolly, 1966, which ruled that while there may be a moral duty to speak to the police, there is no legal duty to speak to the police. In fact, the first line of the police caution, if they're going to arrest you, is you do not have to say anything, which is the same as you have the right to remain silent. Okay, so if they arrest you because you're not going to give them your name and address and that, well, they can't arrest you for that, because you've already, the first line of their caution is you've got the right to remain silent. That right doesn't kick in when they arrest you. It's there all the time. So if they arrest you to try and get your name, again, remain silent. Yeah, the most they can do is hold you for 24 hours maximum, and arrest without a charge. Yeah, arrest is essentially what do they call it? Oh, there's a word for it. Oh, gone out of my head. It's arbitrary arrest. That's it. An arbitrary arrest is the same as assault. Okay, so same as a common law assault, right? It's also false imprisonment, and it could come under misconduct in public office. Misconduct in public office has a lifetime, I believe it's got a life imprisonment sentence that goes with it. So obviously it's very hard to get that one to stick, but you know what, if enough people did that, it's going to start to stick. So police want to get you talking, right? They want you to be talking and answering questions and making statements so that you eventually confess to something, and they've got you. Okay. The police in this country, they're actually working to a flow chart. Okay, it's the 4 E's. Okay, engage, explain, encourage, then enforce. Okay, so that's the process they've got to go through. So they've got to engage with you first, because they can't jump straight to enforce. They can't run in and start, arresting you. They have to engage, explain, encourage, and then enforce. Yeah. So when they start to try and engage with you, you can talk to them. You can say, I don't answer questions, right? I don't answer questions. That's it. End of story. Yeah. Or you can say something like, am I under arrest or am I free to go? Right. Just keep repeating that. Am I under arrest or am I free to go? Right. Or you can use Rice versus Connolly, 1966. Just say that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you a video. I'm going to have to bear with me a second, because I'm going to have to share the screen. That should still be set up, shouldn't it, Alex?
Yeah.
Yeah, since I dropped off. So bear with me a second. So yeah, I'll preface what I'm going to show you, because I was on the stand in the park, which is people meeting up in the park, in defiance of this COVID regulations. Oops. Oh. Okay, so let's share the screen now. Why is this not sharing? Okay, got it. So share the screen. Tell me if you see anything.
Yeah, I can see the video.
Okay, so well, it's not let me see how to get to the controls. Hang on.
The play button is at the bottom.
Yeah, no, but there's a thing in the way. Right, I'm going to move it ahead. Right, can you hear it?
Yes.
Rice versus Connolly, 1966. Rice versus Connolly, 1966. Rice versus Connolly, 1966.
Let's try and get everyone out there. Let's try and get. Go on, then. We just need one person video in. Come on.
Rice versus Connolly, 1966. Bring all the kids away from me.
Come on, let's go. Let's make a speed race. Come on, guys.
Rice versus Connolly, 1966. All the kids over here, come on. Connolly, 1966. So more cops turn up.
Versus Connolly, 1966. Versus Connolly, 1966. Rice versus Connolly, 1966.
I'm going to stop it there. I'm going to stop it there. Literally, you saw they couldn't do anything. They couldn't do anything. I didn't let them even speak. Yeah, because you know, if they wanted to engage with me, I wasn't letting them engage with me. Yeah, and so they couldn't do anything. And it was great when everybody else in the group joined in. Literally, they didn't. I didn't let them start their process, start their flow chart, and engage with me. Yeah. And I was just quoting Rice versus Connolly 1966, which says, I have no duty to speak to the police. So they just walked away in the end. Yeah. That's the thing. If you've not done anything wrong, and literally the COVID-19 regulations, right, they're not lawful. There is no law that says, you know, you can't be in a park, or you can't do this, or you can't. No, it's not lawful. Yeah, if you've not broken a law, right, you have no obligation to speak to the police. That's it. It's as plain as that. Yeah. So literally that is that was, you know, one way of dealing with them. I'm going to play something else now. Okay. I mentioned that that in order to oh, hang on, this is coming up. In order to you know, get around answering questions, you answer with a question. Okay. So, oh, good grief. Yeah, sorry, I'm this computer's playing up. I need a new computer. Anyway, so yeah, one way around it is by asking questions. Now, there's a film, it's called Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, and in the middle of this film is this pair of people, like they're playing a game of questions, and this is like really good training for how you deal with the police. Okay. Wait, does he really have a YouTube called like that? No, it's a film. It's a film called Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. Yeah. So I'm gonna share the screen again, and we'll see. Okay, there it is. Okay, let me know if you see the film. Yeah. No.
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, so I'm going to play it now. Hopefully you'll hear it as well.
You have to ask a question. Statement one love. Cheating. I haven't started yet. Statement two love. Are you counting that? What? Are you counting that? Foul, no repetition. We love the game. I'm not going to play if you're going to be like that.
The video's a little bit quiet, Dave. Is there any way you can turn it up, please?
Okay, see.
Dissertation love one. Who's go? Why? Why not? What for? No synonyms. One all. What in God's name is going on? Foul, no rhetoric, 2-1. What does it all add up to? Can't you guess? Are you addressing me? Is there anyone else? Who? How would I know? Why do you ask? Are you serious? Was that rhetoric? No. Statement 2-all, game point. What's the matter with you today? When? What? Are you deaf? Am I dead? Yes or no? Is there a choice? Is there a God? Foul. No nonsense. 3-2, 1 game all. What's your name? What's yours? You first. Statement. One love. What's your name when you're at home? What's yours? When I'm at home? Is it different at home? What home? Haven't you got one? What do you ask? What are you driving at? What's your name? Repetition, to love, match, point. Who do you think you are? Rhetoric, game and match.
So did you get that? Yeah. This is how you deal. You have to train yourself in dealing with the police or anybody in this in this legal framework. Yeah. Answer with questions. Yeah. And it's a very difficult skill to master. I was just saying to Alexandra that earlier this week, I taught common law to a bunch of children, and and I was actually trying to catch them out. I put a policeman's helmet on, and I actually accused them of a crime, and I was trying to trick them, and I was able to trick them every time by getting them to give a statement or hesitate or be quiet or whatever, but I was able to trap them, and it was quite successful because after the lesson in their lunch break, they were practicing role playing, being questioned by police, and it was quite good. So as I said, it's a very difficult skill to master, but yeah, watch that a few times if you can find it. Again, it's Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead and Questions. So if you put that into YouTube, you'll find it. So yes, that's a way to deal with police when they're trying to impose themselves on you. Okay, always ask questions, or don't even let them engage with you. Okay. Sorry, if the police comes to a death, I don't know. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. I'm not deaf, so I'm not thinking in that mindset. So how do you deal with offers? Okay, well, I mentioned earlier that offers come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, and most of the time you don't recognize them. One type of offer is what's known as an adhesion contract. Okay, now you might recognize it if you've ever parked your car in a car park, right? Somewhere in that car park, there's a notice, and it says something like, notice, by parking in this car park, you agree to the following terms and conditions. Okay, and it's probably got a fee schedule and restrictions on when you can and can't park, blah, blah, blah. Right, but the mere fact of parking in that car park means that you've agreed to their conditions. Okay, so one of the ways you can get around that is with a counter offer. Okay, so in my car, back in the old days, and when I had this notice in my car, I had a notice, just like they had a notice in the car park. I had a notice that said, notice, if you affix anything to my car, then I charge this. So I made sure that the fee that I charged for somebody sticking something on my car was greater than any parking ticket. Yeah, so I had a fee schedule that said if you clamp my car, I charge this. If you tow my car away, I charge this, per hour, and so on and so on and so on. Now I had this notice in my car window for over a year, and I would park. I'd park, in a reasonable way, yeah, but that I wasn't blocking anybody in or anything. But I wouldn't care where I parked it. And there was one occasion where there were a dozen cars parked in a road, and I think there was some kind of restriction. But in the morning, I went out, and all these cars had parking tickets on them, except my one, because essentially there was that notice in the window. Now I did get a parking ticket once, and I sent a letter back to them saying I'm happy to pay your parking fee, but your operative would have noticed my notice in the window. Yeah, my fees are more than yours. So, you know, send me my fee and I'll happily send you back, you know, yours. I didn't hear anything back from them. Right. So this is literally you using the power that they're using on you. Yeah. Everyone's equal under the law. Yeah. And just as they can make an agreement with you, you can make one with them. Okay. The other way you can deal with offers, and I'm going to see if I can find an actual conditional acceptance. Okay, the conditional acceptance is a way that you can deal with. Okay.
Dave, will we have any time for some questions? Because I know you have to jump off kind of soon.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll probably have to. I'll probably cut it short then if there's a lot of questions. Are there a lot of questions?
Yeah, just
Because,
come off mute and ask Dave directly if you have any questions.
Do you know any good hacks in regards to Irish law? Is it similar to English?
it will be the same as English because they're all under the Commonwealth system, and so they're all using common law. Yeah.
Good, thank you.
I'd like to know, are the police taught legalese? So do they understand?
Yes and no. They're not taught it's common law and it's legalese. They're just given a script that they have to follow. Yeah. And they know that if you say something, they can proceed. Yeah. They don't actually get taught why they're saying it or what it actually means. They're just given a script, and you know, if you go along with their script, then they've got you. If they don't, then they get a bit flustered. And
Yeah, then if we're going to use the techniques that you've kind of guided us to use, if we use basically the system's techniques, and they don't understand, they're not really aware of it, then they're going to think that we're either being smart with them or we're trying to disobey them, and then I think this is when they get aggressive. No?
Well, at the basis of it, they know that there's certain things they can't do, right? They know that, for instance, you know, if they search you or they try and search you, they need certain things before they can proceed. Yeah. If they talk to you, you know, they're trying to charge you with something, they need certain things on you before they can do that. As I said, they've got that flow chart they've got to follow. So they've got to engage with you first. They've got to be able to explain what they want to do. Yeah. They've got to encourage you to do something else, you know. So they've got to follow their script. And they've got various scripts for various things. But once, you know, if you know what those scripts are, right, you can just bypass it. You can just say, you know what, you're not engaged. I'm not engaged with you. You know, Rice versus Colony, 1966. End of story.
Does anyone else have any questions?
I do. Hey, Dave, I don't know if you answered this or not. I missed a couple minutes in between. So if you did answer this, I apologize. Right. When you said about the contracts we sign, like birth certificates and the contracts we make with like the church, basically selling our child's soul, is there any way to reverse these contracts? Is there something I can do to go back, or am I just, you know, am I in the water here?
I might be able to answer that.
Okay.
In regards to transfer, you can't get rid of it, but you can transform it into something in your favor. If you're like pagan or whatnot, you can find a deity that you follow mostly and ask them to transform it. I know it sounds outlandish, but bear with me.
Okay, but that's the church contract. But the thing about the birth certificate is it's like a fish hook. You know, once they've got that fish hook into you, they're not going to let go. You can do certain things to try and get get control of your birth certificate, but it still doesn't really matter, because according to the system, they still have you registered as a slave, as a citizen. Yeah, so you might be able to get it back for your own peace of mind, but you're not going to get it back in a way that will affect the way the system interacts with you.
Okay, I see. And as far as legalese goes, the biggest takeaway that you would want to teach anybody, what would that be? What would be like your number one, like, if nothing else, know this?
Okay, know that you already know the law. Okay, anything else, remember that you're dealing with like a stranger trying to force something on you. That's the attitude you should have when you're dealing with this is a big topic, so I can't, there's not one good answer, not one good answer to it, but yeah, if you're dealing with like police, remember, don't get fooled by the badge and the uniform. It's a stranger trying to force something on you. The other answer would be, don't assume you know what's being spoken of when you're in a legal situation. Yeah, I would suggest that people get or download a legal dictionary, like Black's Law Dictionary, and just start looking up words. Yeah, if you get a contract and you're reading through it and you don't understand a word, or a word looks a bit fishy, go and look it up in a legal dictionary, and you might get surprised at what you're actually being expected to sign.
Okay, I appreciate that. Also, do you have a way that we can follow you and find more information as we have questions, or?
I have a website. It's allegedlydave.com. Some of this stuff is on there, so you might have to sort of look around for it a bit. But yeah, I've got a couple of pages about the straw man and how to get out of certain things. How to deal with. I didn't get to talk about promissory notes. That's a very powerful thing, but maybe I'll do something next time. But
you still have a little bit of time though, don't you?
Well, maybe 5 minutes or so. But yeah, a promissory note is very powerful. Yeah. So if you find yourself in a situation where you really can't get out of the system, the legal process that you find yourself in, and you end up with a charge that you can't seem to get out of, right? The way out is a promissory note. Okay, so a promissory note is essentially you on a piece of paper, could be even toilet paper if it had to be. You can write, I promise to pay the bearer the sum of whatever it is on demand. And hang on, I think I've got a promissory note. Yeah, I've got a promissory note here. It's now I actually used a promissory note. Share screen. What is it sharing? Okay. Let's make this. Let's not show from current slide. So can you see that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is it. Promissory note. I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of and the amount. Now on my promissory notes, I put a section at the bottom for witnesses. So I get 3 witnesses to witness that I've written out this promissory note. And I also put it on some fancy certificate paper to make it look a bit more official, because that's the way I am. But yeah, literally this piece of paper with the amount on and your promise to pay and your signature, right, becomes money. This is the money. Okay, it's a whole new whole different topic about money. I could talk for about another 3 or 4 hours about money, but literally this is where the money comes from. Yeah, your promise to pay. your promise to work, expend your energy to, working in the system, right, is the real money. So when you write out a promissory note, it becomes money. So when you get a bank loan, okay, they'll give you a loan agreement to sign. That loan agreement is a promissory note. That's you literally create the money that they lend to you in the form of credit. Okay, so you can actually use this promissory note to pay a fine or pay a bill. No, I wouldn't say pay a bill, because pay a bill between people, you don't use that, but pay a bill to a corporation, you could. So there was a court ruling that, and I think it's from Lord Denning. Hang on, let's stop that. From Lord Denning, which said, we have repeatedly said in this court that a promissory note should be treated as cash. So it's right there. It's actually mandated by the court that a promissory note, and I've got it here. Actually, it says, we have repeatedly said in this court that a bill of exchange or promissory note is to be treated as cash. It is to be honoured unless there is a good reason to the contrary, e.g. if there's an arguable case based on a total failure of consideration, which means there's not an equal exchange for the cash. So right there, it's a court ruling that says a promissory note that anyone can write out should be treated as cash. Now,
Does this work in the States as well?
It should, because again, the States uses the same system as the UK. Now, let me show you something else. Actually, I'm going to have to share again. Okay.
We'll rack up some fines after this.
Okay, let's bear with me a second. Sorry, you asked me the question and now I've lost it now. What was the question you said?
Can this be used in the States as well?
Yeah, okay. There's something. Okay, I've lost it. There was something I was going to show you, and I can't remember what the hell it is now. Okay, it's gone. Sorry. Yeah, I'll probably remember at 4 o'clock in the morning now. But the point is that once you've paid for a promissory note, a friend of mine was in a court case with the Inland Revenue, okay, and apparently he, according to them, he owed them so many thousands of pounds. Now we were in a court with him, and he literally wasn't listening to this judge. This judge was saying, all I can do is adjourn this case or find out how you're going to pay. And the judge kept repeating it, and my friend was saying, saying it's unfair, it's unlawful, blah blah blah. You can't do this. But the judge was saying, look, all I can do is either adjourn it or find out how you're going to pay. So he wouldn't listen to me when I said, look, ask the judge if it's okay to pay with cash. Now, obviously, they'll say, yes, it's fine, right? And then you say, okay, I shall pay the full amount in cash. Okay, the judge is happy, the Inland Revenue is happy, right? Now it's up to you to pay. So you write out a promissory note, send it to the Inland Revenue. Now the situation has changed. It's no longer about, do you owe this, this amount? It's now about, is this form of payment a legitimate one? Well, it actually is, because it's this country and all these countries are in bankruptcy. Okay, there is no money. Yeah, it's all paper money with promises on it. If you look at the the money in your pocket, it says, right, I promise to pay the bearer. It's a promissory note. Yeah. So I just saw a question, can I do this with any debt? Yes, but right? It's a game of chess that they're playing with you. Yeah, they're expecting you to have your programming that you'll think that your promissory note isn't real. Okay, so they're going to use psychological methods on you. But if you send a promissory note to pay a bill, okay, they will write back and say, you didn't send any money, right? But what they wouldn't have done is they wouldn't have sent back the promissory note, right? So what they've actually done is accepted it. They've accepted it because, you know, they've held on to it. They've accepted it. So in actual fact, what they do with that promissory note is they sell it because it is actually worth money. Okay. So, but they'll pretend that they haven't given you money, or you haven't given them anything, and they'll play the game that way. Okay. So again, you have to know how to continue playing the game. Okay. In the case when I paid, I was challenging my electric bill. Okay, and I ended up in court with them, and I came along. I think it was like £300. I came along with £300. I said, "Look, here's the money. I'm happy to pay it, as long as the electric company gives me my promissory notes back, because I know they're valuable. Right? Here's the money. I just want my promissory notes back." They couldn't do it. They wouldn't do it. So yeah. Anyway, I'm beyond my time now, I'm afraid. So I recommend any books on the subject. There is one book you can look at. It's called "Freedom is More Than Just a 7-Letter Word," and that's by Veronica Chapman. You might even be able to find it on. Find it online somewhere. There is another one called "How I Clobbered Every Cash Confiscatory System Known to Man" by Mary Elizabeth Croft. Again, I think you can find that one online as well. So that's all I can think of at the, you know, off the top of my head.
Thank you so much, Dave.
One last question, Dave, please.
Okay, very quick.
All right. What if the second party comes back to demand the £500 that you promised them on this note?
Well, here's the thing. As I said, all these countries are in bankruptcy. Yeah, there isn't money. So just like if you went into the Federal Reserve with a $10 note, yeah, and you said, "I want my $10." Yeah, back in the past, $10 were meant that when you gave it into the bank, they would give you $10 worth of gold or silver. Yeah, but they've decoupled it from money now, so there is no money. So when you take that $10 in and say, "Give me my $10," they'll give you 2 5s back. Yeah, there's no money, so they're not going to make good on their promises. Right, so you basically, if you're asked, you say, "Well, I'm happy to pay. I'll make good on my promise as soon as the bank makes good on their promise," because you can't pay unless they do.
Well, can I pay a promissory note with 2 more promissory notes?
It's not necessary. As I said, you say, "Well, look, the government have issued promissory notes. Yeah, as soon as they pay on their promissory note, I'll pay on mine."
I got you.
Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dave, you're the best. I'm grateful for you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Hopefully, I hope it's useful to people.
We'll have to get you back on to talk about promissory notes and money.
Yeah, happy to do it.
And maybe Legalese part 2. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Till soon.
Thank you, Dave.
Bye, Dave. Speak soon.
See you later.
Bye.